Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Journey of You podcast. So today's theme is a goodie. We're going deep, y'all. We're just going deeper and deeper. Today's theme is forgiveness. Forgiveness, forgiveness. And I caution you to assume you know what we're going to talk about today, because even as we tuned into today's session, more and more was revealed. So stay with us today as we dive deeper into forgiveness. Because forgiveness is a big tool that you can really, if you know how to work with forgiveness and really know about it at this really deep level, it's going to allow you to shed yourself of any of the low vibrations, emotions, and energies that are keeping you stuck, honestly. So we're going to really talk today about getting you unstuck and what is causing that, and how forgiveness is your friend, how forgiveness is your new friend. Welcome back to another episode of Joy, the Journey of You podcast. We're your hosts, Devin and Chris, and we're here for joy.
This podcast is your permission slip to reconnect to your inherent joy and to embrace it.
Let's fill up the cosmic joy pot together as we dive in to today's episode. Okay, so here, let's just dive in, you guys. Okay, so forgiveness really is the pathway to cleanse yourself of old perceptions of yourself and others, ultimately freeing you. Let's unpack that a little bit, okay? So cleansing, right? There's like so much out in the world about cleansing, and this idea of like you can go on retreats and get cleanses, and you can do all these things to cleanse yourself, but energy that we're engaging with in our day-to-day lives is if we hold on to it, we can get muck and stuck, right? So the other side of not having forgiveness in our tool bag is if we're holding on to the grudges, not forgiving ourselves, and basically keeping things stuck, we internalize our experiences and our emotions. And then what ends up happening is we're going to have no positive influence and effect on the outside world. It's a very internal beating yourself up process. And so we're going to dive deep into that today. But just to make it clear before we even go into this, is that on one hand, we have one pathway of really utilizing forgiveness to our advantage to help free ourselves and clear the pathway and just make life easier. Okay, just make life easier. And then the other side of things is when we're holding on to shit and we're making it mean something about ourselves and we're internalizing it, is where we just go down this downward spiral, and just our outside situation starts to really reflect that. And so that's kind of the polar opposites of the world that we're going to dive into of forgiveness. Um, and I'd love to bring in Chris's voice, because I feel like I've been talking forever. um, so yeah, come on in, Chris, and share with us.
No story.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was really, really interesting to tune into the topic in first place because so much came up and so different than what we had originally expected, kind of. Because originally, to me, forgiveness in first place is about forgiving others, right? But what came through for both of us actually is that we don't have any stories about forgiving others, because for me, it's I forget so quickly. Like I cannot hold a grudge because I forget. I don't have that brain space. My brain needs that space for other things.
Mm.
So my main um reason to need forgiveness is for myself, because I can really hold a grudge against myself, and I can go into these deep thought loops about incredibly tiny, ridiculous little
Mm-hmm.
things, and I can beat myself up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the
Yeah,
story
can't we
that
all?
came, yeah, the story that came through for me now was I just came back from a 2 week cleansing retreat. It was physical, emotional, and energetic cleansing in
Mm-hmm.
Sri Lanka. And we had either Tai Chi or Qigong in the morning, or yoga in the morning. And the Tai Chi teacher, the first time he was there, he gave us, showed us exercise, or did with us exercises that supported heart energy, which was really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And after the session, I went up to him and I said, because we're in this cleansing retreat here, it would be awesome if you could, do some exercises for the kidney and the liver next time. And he was really excited about it. And he was like, oh, yeah, yeah, let me do that. And immediately wrote it down. And And like an hour later, so ridiculous. I was like, wow, that was so impolite. I should have asked him what he's planning to do instead of rushing in and saying, like, can you do that? You know, maybe he had already planned on doing that, or, you know, whatever. But I was like, oh my God, I'm so impolite. Like, this is really not okay. And I kept beating myself up about it.
Hmm.
And I have like many of these tiny situations, and in the past I could have gotten stuck on that to an extent where like I would, you know, not allow myself to go to sleep over a little thing like that,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And but what I do now is that I just change my perspective and then look at like what good could have been in that situation.
Hmm.
And that kind of snaps me out of it pretty quickly.
Yeah. No, but I totally agree about the whole how we actually internalize and self. It really turned out to be this is all about self forgiveness, right? Which I've seen feel like it's obvious that as we're practicing self forgiveness, it's going to be really a lot easier to be being giving
Forgiving.
forgiveness to others,
Absolutely.
right?
Mm.
Yeah, and but I too, when we tuned into this, is I was really shown more of like an overall theme of timeframes I've beat myself up when I've made a mistake, right? And making that mistake mean something about my character, mean something about my self-worth, rather than like this empathy of like, okay, I'm human. I'm gonna make mistakes. I can't be
No,
perfect,
what?
right? I know. And
Are
I
you
know I'm not
serious?
I know I'm not alone in this because you and I literally when we tuned in, we like literally wrote down the same thing. Am I doing something wrong? Is something
Yes.
wrong with me? And we can really make it about ourselves. And the truth is there's likely something that I need to look at in that scenario. So like, okay, so I feel bad about something, but rather than like taking that energy of that experience and beating myself up, how I've flipped that has been to look at it as like, okay, let it be there. But what if I did? Like even when I first started with this, it was like, I don't know how to forgive myself, but what if I could imagine maybe that I could, you know, like
Mm,
what if I could maybe one day get around, let's like really put it far out there just so you're like playing with it and like flirting with it so
mm,
that it starts to just give you a little space from it, right? Because
mm,
otherwise when the time frames when I have been beating myself up, I'm like in it, I'm in my head, I'm just feeling like shit about myself, I'm not receptive to the world and what's going on around me, and I just start to again like really make it mean something about it and hold it in my heart, right? And it's
mm,
something that's like really can fester and really can just keep going and fermenting, right? And
mm,
I have definitely experienced that in my, you know, like late teens, early 20, like, you know, that period of time as a woman where you're just like so insecure of yourself and you're just like, who am I? And I just made everything mean of that I was doing a shit job and that I needed to be better. And so that was definitely a period of time where I was internalizing. And so there's been a lot that I've had to do to unpack that and learn forgiveness. And we're gonna help folks today. By little exercise and activity in that. But yeah, I love that you recently had this Tai Chi experience at your retreat. Um, and it was during a cleanse when so that's just funny.
yes. And I also want to add that when we internalize this, to me, it feels really aggressive. Like it's a
Mm,
really aggressive energy that kind of eats you up from the inside. And I think um, it's pretty much similar whether it's a grudge you hold against yourself, whether you beat yourself up, or whether you do it with somebody else. When you hold a grudge and you get angry and really pissed off at them, it eats you up. And the chemistry that you send through your whole body and your bloodstream is
yeah.
very aggressive, right?
Yeah.
And that um through that you can't access joy. Like when you are in that state, joy is definitely far outside. And
Totally.
so to me, it's such an important aspect to become aware of what we do to ourselves when we can't forgive, whether it's ourselves or somebody else. Maybe you have a situation at the moment where you can't forgive somebody else because they did something that felt really wrong. Um, but it's independent. It's the same process, right?
Hmm. Yeah, no, this absolutely can be applied to yourself, others in the world at large, right?
Hmm.
Is there's a lot of things going on that we could all probably benefit from having some compassion, some forgiveness, and there's going to be. I love that you talked about the aggressiveness of it because the truth be told is usually we're going to internalize these lower vibration emotions, right? So we talked in one of our episodes on vibration about low vibration emotions, so anger, resentment, judgment, frustration, all that's going to be low vibe stuff, right? And that stuff, it's like it's so easy to build in low vibration because there's just like a shit ton of low vibration everywhere, right? So
Hmm.
it's just like it's
Hmm.
easy just to build a snowball of low vibration.
Hmm.
But it takes so much it takes conscious effort to be building a high vibration snowball, right? And
Although
that's what we're
when you
yeah,
start, it gets easy, right?
exactly. Yeah.
But to create that switch takes a lot
That's what
of
I'm
conscious
talking about.
action.
And
Yeah.
that's where the awareness piece of it, where where we're going to bring you guys into right now, is your next step here is to just notice right now something you're holding on to. And this is going to start the switch, right? Is because if you're not aware, if you are holding anger, if you are holding resentment, judgment, frustration, bitterness, sadness, if you're not aware that you're holding that and noticing that you're holding that, you're not actually aware that you're probably unconsciously building the low vibration snowball, right? So let's first just everybody just take a moment and just notice what are you holding on to right now? And maybe, if you want to take it a step further, if you're skilled in somatics, just notice where in your body you also hold that sensation vibration of holding. And at the same
I'm just holding on to joy right now.
I love it. Love it. I have joy within me, but I'll be honest as we're tapping into this, as I can feel some resentment of holding into my that I'm holding into my heart and some frustration from things in the past. And I can really feel some of those old dialogues that I would beat myself up in. And if I'm not conscious, I can beat myself up in. And I can actually feel that I still have that held within me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so then now as you guys are aware of what you're holding on to, whatever it may be, so just notice it's going to be for different people. So as Chris is holding joy, just like allow her, like you get to hold joy if you're holding joy. If you're holding resentment, you get to hold that and just be truthful with yourself. Don't try to sugarcoat it, whatever your experience is. And just notice Chris and I have two totally different experiences right now, and that's perfect. And then as you're noticing that you are holding on to something, now just notice what is your current relationship with forgiveness? Right. And so for me, like I'm just aware that I'm growing in forgiveness. I'm better than I have been, but I can still learn more self-forgiveness and really, really, really be embodying that more. And for some of you, it may be that you don't have any relationship to forgiveness. It's like totally new concept. But what's it like? What are you noticing for yourself, Chris?
For me, also we haven't mentioned this before, but there's this Hawaiian ritual called Ho'oponopono, where it's just these four short little sentences, which is I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And you repeat this over and over. And I started that several years ago, and that kind of helped me um slide into this forgiveness process itself because like I said, for me it was super hard to forgive myself. Like that was the biggest grudge I was holding.
Mm.
And right now, to me, because I'm so aware of it, I feel like I can switch quite quickly by now. So I have a very, oh look, yay, yay.
Thumbs up to that.
Thank you, Zoom. um, I feel I have a very close relationship to forgiveness, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that
very
you brought that
grateful
in
for that.
because I love that you brought that in because Ho'oponopono was a big one for me too. And the next question I was going to ask our listeners is like, have you been taught? So
Mm,
for me as well, as I hadn't really been taught any sort of context around forgiveness and Ho'oponopono, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Like that was such a big shift for me, and I feel compelled. I don't know if people know this story about some doctors who did this with patients. Do you know about
mm.
that story?
I'm not sure. Share.
So like these patients were like critically ill, right? Like on their deathbed, nonverbal, like comas, like and so what these Hawaiian doctors did is they did an experiment where they went into the rooms and all they did was say Ha'aponopono like over and over for these people, like for them, to them, like the practitioner was doing it themselves, like from themselves, for themselves, and the number of people that were healing just from that, no other intervention was like I don't remember the percentage, but it was remarkable of like what having this forgiveness vibration, and what I've realized even as I was saying it right now with you is the first two sentences, I'm sorry, please forgive me, like those are both half of the whole statement is about forgiveness. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
please forgive me.
Hmm.
Thank you, I love you. Like
Hmm.
half of that, and so like what's obvious to me about this is such a big phase of moving beyond something.
Hmm.
And then in that example of the experiment with patients, it's like in this example, people weren't even consciously doing it themselves. And so it's like if they
Hmm.
can have big shifts when someone else is doing it for them, how imagine what you can do if you're doing it for yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah. And we can
Absolutely.
still be doing it for others too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, so for you guys out there listening, it's like so just seeing what is your current relationship to forgiveness? Have you been taught anything about forgiveness? Do you have any reference points at all? And if not, that's okay. But if it's a new concept, are you open to learning, and are you open to like are you willing to give yourself more forgiveness and kind of step out into like I don't know what I'm doing, but let's this what I'm doing ain't working. So let's try a different way. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then, as we introduce that, that may bring something up. That may bring resistance up. You may notice more energy held and you may notice more charge. And that's exactly where you need to be. Just notice that.
Yeah, and as Devin said in the beginning already, when we internalize these experiences, whether it's about ourselves or about others, when we internalize it, we hold on to this aggressive gnawing energy, right? And it does something within us, and it has a charge, and it attracts more of its kind. And yeah, it's really important to become aware of what is happening within us in that situation, right?
Yeah. 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 Because it's in the awareness of it that you can shift it. That's where
Mm,
the switch over happens.
mm,
That's a first step.
mm.
Always. It's the first step to start shifting things. So just acknowledge where you're at right now, wherever that may be. And then, and then as you're noticing that, whatever that emotion was, whatever that thought is, the next step would be to ask yourself, is that really true? Like, really? Right? So, like for myself, if my internal thought is honestly, I'm gonna say this is because I know other people have said this, but it's like, okay, you're a piece of shit. Like, if you have that thought of you're a piece of shit, it's like, if you were, have you ever actually questioned it? Have you ever actually said, like, is that true? Like, am I actually a piece of shit? Like, no, I'm not literally a piece of shit. don't think I don't think I smell that bad. Yeah, so just you start to question it, and this is one of Byron Katie's one of things of just start to question it, and that starts to move things and shift things and make it a little less dense, right? And then Chris, where do people go from here after they've questioned, is it really true?
What I do is to just really ask myself to change that perspective, to ask what if it isn't true? And what if something in this whole experience was good? Something inside of that brings out something good, like an impulse to the other side, an impulse to the recipient of this experience, or maybe even to yourself. And maybe how it happened is exactly how it was meant to happen, how you are able to grow from this and to learn from this and to expand from this and to just um, maybe do something different next time, but to use this experience as gold. And like
Awesome.
that, yeah, like
Hmm.
that, you can maybe start giving yourself 10% forgiveness, or maybe
Yeah, and that's
even
where you got to
20.
start. It's like, so what would it be like if you gave yourself just starting, just like a
Mm.
little drip, just a little drip? What if you gave yourself 10% forgiveness? Let's all let's just try that on for size. Just take a moment. And if you're driving, you can keep your eyes open, but just like imagine yourself. What if you gave yourself just dripped in 10% forgiveness right now? Imagine what that would be like, what that would feel like, how you would see yourself. Yeah. And then,
Like it.
if you're comfortable with that, you can start to eke up and start to flirt with 20%. But if this is new for you, start five. If 10% is too much, try five. Like just start as we're, and I really purposely want to say flirt with forgiveness because this is like a trial and error thing, right? Especially if this is new for you, you're not going to jump into bed with forgiveness right away. It's really going to be this gradual process of getting to know forgiveness and getting to know yourself, relating to forgiveness in a different way. So, maybe I'm getting Chris right now is like, let's invite the listeners to like tune into right now for yourself is like, do you want to work with 5% forgiveness for right now, 10% forgiveness, 20% forgiveness, and just kind of get a sense of what's the level of forgiveness that you want to flirt with and play with after today's episode, and just get a sense of that for yourself. And then imagine yourself applying that during your day and just see what that could feel like for a moment. Yeah, for me, it's like a softening. Like I just soften, right? It's just like a because for me, when I'm really beating, everything's rigid when I'm beating myself up and really,
Mm.
really in that vibe. But for me, everything just softens and it's just like, oh, bro, oh.
Totally.
How
Totally.
about
And
you?
yeah, same thing. And it's like a big exhale and like the recognition, like I'm not all bad. You know, it's okay. It's okay. I get to be who I am and I'm enough. And yeah, what I also want to throw into the ring is to do that ho'oponopono with yourself and to
Yeah.
see how that opens it up further. Like if you're at 5 or 10%, if you do that, to just ease into that. Because to me, it's also a bit like what's it called? Um, Affirmations, when you do affirmations. And like if you are really overweight, for example, and you're asked to tell your mirror, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, but like 90% of you disagree, it's going to be too hard and too much, right? So I love that, you get to ease yourself into that start where you are, meet yourself where you are at, but see if the Ho'oponopono, if that kind of supports your process and helps you
Mhm.
move towards that. And like I said, whether it's with yourself or with others, but we agreed as we talked about this episode that once we are able to forgive ourselves, it's also much, much easier to forgive others
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
start with yourself. Yeah.
That's where it's just like, what I did, that's where like the real impact and juice comes from. It's just like
Mhm.
it'll just be so much easier versus if we focus externally trying to forgive, it's like we're missing such like we're the center of it, right?
Mm.
And that creates that ripple effect out into our world and lives. And so sure we could forgive from the outside first, but it's just like you're gonna just
It's going to be a
not
wholly
it's,
different
it's just like
process.
well, it's
Yeah.
just like gonna be so much quicker and so much more
Hmm.
profound and so much
Hmm.
easier in the
Hmm.
long run by
Hmm.
going internal first and from
Hmm.
working inward out,
Hmm. Absolutely. And
for sure.
I feel like when we're younger, it's more about the external forgiveness because we're not aware how we're beating ourselves up, actually, because we're not aware of that internal conversation that's going on.
Mm.
And but as we become more aware, we realize how much we're actually having these negative self conversations and how intense they can be. And when we're at that point, we can start there, right? But we
Mhm.
have to become aware of how am I actually, like there's voices in my head and they're not really nice, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love how just naturally Ho'oponopono came in today, and I love us that absolutely can play with that, and I just feel compelled to share. There's a group that I love, love, love. It's a group of women in Africa called Beautiful Chorus, and they actually have a song that goes through Ho'opono, and it's just on repeat. I'm sorry, please
Please
forgive
forgive
me,
me.
thank you, I love you, and so that can be something that you can play in the background too.
Hmm.
If people feel compelled, and I just felt shared to compelled to share
Appreciate
about
that.
Beautiful Chorus because they are absolutely beautiful women with such soul, and
Mm,
all their songs are wonderful. But they really brought a real distinct essence to that to Ho'oponopono in song. So I don't know if
it's
have you heard that
gorgeous.
one?
Mm-mm. I
Yeah,
a
you'll have to
friend
check
of
it out.
mine, yeah, a friend of mine, she's an Irish singer. She also recorded a version of it. We can maybe just share both of them in the
Yeah,
show
I haven't heard
notes.
the Irish
Yeah.
one. I want to hear that one.
Yeah,
Cool.
she's awesome. She also does
Awesome.
mantras. And yeah, because when we have like that song in our head on repeat, it's like a mantra and it just cleanses, it just does something, without our even us even consciously participating in it. It just happens.
Well, it's
And
that
that's really
vibration,
awesome.
us talking about vibration. And I share with my clients and patients, actually, just this week, I was really going in depth about the voice with a client,
Hmm.
about how much the vibration of our voice carries things. And so as we're singing that and as we're listening to that, yeah, it's vibrational healing, vibrational
Hmm.
cleansing, and other
Hmm.
magic that, we can't explain.
And we don't have to.
And we don't have to, and it's just great. So bringing it full circle, folks, is your invitation here is to notice where you're held, where the charge is. Ask yourself, is that really true? And if it's not true, is there something good hidden in that experience that I can now see? And then, what if I gave myself 10% forgiveness? And what if I just start flirting with forgiveness today forward? And then from here, we just invite you to notice how you feel and experience your day as you do that, as you flirt with forgiveness and play with this, having that vibration and energy in your life. What happens? And then let us know. We want to hear all about it. We've been hearing some fabulous, really cool comments. Hi, Wendy, by the way. Wendy commented on our YouTube. She's been watching, and a lot of our friends, families, clients, and everybody's been watching. And it's just been such a joy to have more energy and more comments come in as we're all building our cosmic joy pot together. And so let's keep it rolling, folks, as we dive into this week of practicing this self forgiveness. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sound like a cool invitation? You ready? You gonna join the party?
I shall. I'm in the midst
Reminds
of
me of
it.
the old days when we used to have like, do you remember the old days where you'd have cards and you'd actually RSVP to things? Like,
No.
no? You don't remember that? Am
We
I
we d-
old?
we no, we didn't do that here.
What?
It's a different country.
Oh, totally true. I didn't realize that was an American thing. No, totally. Like when I grew
And
up for a
it's
birthday party and things, like you would send a physical invitation and then people would actually like physically send an
send it back.
RSVP back, especially
Wow.
for like weddings. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So, folks, I think what I'm getting at is can you send me a cosmic RSVP? So whether or not you go in the comments or just within your energy, like say, "Hey, Chris and Devin, I'm on for forgiveness." Just like put that energy out there, and
Mhm.
um,
And
and let's,
commit to it.
yeah, that's really what it's about. That's really what it's about. Awesome. Well, enjoy as you do that, folks, and
We will see you next time.
we will see you next episode. Until then, here's to you and your joy.
Bye.